Yo concluyo que mi motivo mejor eres tú. Escribir un poema es fácil si existe un motivo. Y hasta puedo crear mundos nuevos en la fantasía.
He is a man who was born in Mexico in Matamoros and grew up truly straddling the border, being American and Mexican. And his family on both sides, schooling on both sides, and somebody who truly understands what our bicultural future will look like. In between, he's also clerked for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, but he also worked for the Clinton administration in the Treasury Department as a young college graduate. We're very fortunate to have somebody like that who thinks of others first always. And I give you Justice Tino Cuellar.
I thought I would just share with you two memories I have from the process of going to the bench, but then I also wanted to share a story with you that really moved me when I learned about it not long ago. As I share the story with you, I think you'll see why it was moving to me. But I'll start with what I remember about this process. After that conversation with Chris, I did have a chat with the governor's office. I said, look, I'm very honored the governor is interested in talking to me. I'll talk to him. We'll see how it goes. I showed up to talk to the governor, not knowing what to expect. I was told that I'd be there for about 45 minutes. After an hour and a half, I didn't know how much longer we'd go. I was told that he might want to ask some questions about the Supreme Court of California and how it worked, what my thoughts were about that. I sat down, and the first question he had was, what should the world do about nuclear proliferation? I thought after that we'd get to easier questions, and then he asked me, what do you think of Max Weber? After about an hour of that, his wife walked in. She sat down, listened to the conversation, raised her hand and said, has anybody asked Professor Cuellar about the California Supreme Court? The governor looked a little sheepish, looked down a little bit and said, well, why don't you ask questions? And she said, well, what do you think about the California Supreme Court? So after about a month from that day, I got a call from the governor's office, and the call came just as I was returning to San Francisco from a trip, and I was in that part of the airport at SFO where all the signs say, do not take out your cell phone, don't answer the phone. I answered the phone, and I was told, the governor will call you in seconds. He called, and he spoke to me for 7 or 8 minutes about how much he'd enjoyed meeting me, how much he'd enjoyed the conversation. And after 6 or 7 minutes, I was wondering if he was calling to tell me that he'd gone with somebody else, because he hadn't actually said anything more than that. But eventually he said he wanted me to do this, and I felt incredibly humbled. I still do. I hung up the phone. He told me he was going to make the announcement the next day, and I immediately called my wife, and it was busy. That night, my 2 kids, they witnessed both of their parents running around like chickens with their heads cut off as we were trying to work on what was this public statement going to be, and what was it like to go before the Jenny Commission, and just the whole thing that was happening. I remember my son, who was here tonight, he said at one point, like around 10:30 p.m., well past his bedtime, he said, Papi, what is going on? And I kept on telling him, just wait a few minutes and I'll talk to you in a minute. But of course, all of you who are parents know, and all of you who've been kids, which we all have, you can never quite say that to a kid. Or at least if you do, they're going to come back at you a minute later and demand answers. Finally, after the whole process had played itself out, and I was in my office at Stanford Law School, cleaning up my office, I came across a file folder, and it was labeled Teaching Evaluations. I looked at the file folder. I wondered if I should open it up or not. It reminded me of that scene in the Star Wars movie where Yoda is talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Yoda says to Obi-Wan Kenobi, if you go into the security archives, only pain will you find. But I opened up the folder, and I saw the first teaching evaluation that I'd kept. It was from just a couple of years earlier, and it said, your administrative law class taught me something I will never forget. And administrative law is really boring. I thought maybe if I kept on going, I'd find something a little better. And I found at the very end a postcard from a student, and he said, at the end of the class you taught on legislation, you told us that if we didn't like what we saw, we should run for office. I'm running for state rep in Michigan. Now put your money where your mouth is and write me a check. My wife and I are blessed with two unmistakably Californian, Mexican, Korean American kids. They somewhat remind me of these delicious bulgogi tacos that are now being sold in LA, and you can find them here in around Santa Clara County as well. I don't know if you've ever tasted those tacos, but they have three characteristics that I associate with my kids. They're relatively wholesome, they're the best of two cultures, and they smell great. 2 out of 3 isn't too bad. But like all kids, these kids can also make you remember why it's difficult to be a parent. So one night, some years ago, I was putting the kids to sleep, and one of them, as things were winding down with the storytelling and that, get to bed now, it's time to go to sleep, asked a question. The question was this question. Daddy, sometimes I wonder, why are we here? Now, my answer was, well, because this is your bedroom. But that didn't solve the problem. I got the question again. You know what I mean. Why are we here? I wanted to say that the question was above my pay grade. And if you have kids, I'm sure you want to do that with some questions too. But when I heard it, it made me think about this story that I want to share with you. As I was thinking about the question, it struck me that here, why are we here? It's not just a place, but it's a time. How many of you have read or heard something in the news in the last 24 hours that made you feel sad or discouraged? Raise your hand if you haven't. I know I have. And little wonder, because of the staggering challenges that face our county, our state, our country, and our world. Whether you think about 10 or 12 million displaced Syrians, or 7 million Californians who don't speak English very well and need better access to our courts, or climate change, or too little water and too much poverty. No one who cares about the world can ignore this. Some days, it raises the same questions my child asked. But the question of why are we here also made me think of the word we, of what the word has meant over time and what we might learn from that word. So now I want you to picture a young man, a Latino from the humid Caribbean island of Puerto Rico. He's not more than 19, and this young man is in a military uniform, and he's shaking. And he's not shaking because he's afraid, though he is, but he's shaking because he's cold on Christmas Eve, and it's 1950, and he's on the Korean Peninsula. This kid is part of the 65th Infantry Regiment, a segregated, all-Latino unit that fought in the Korean War with unusual resolve. They called themselves the Boricaneers, coming to the term from the term Boricua, which is the indigenous name for Puerto Rico. This unit was created just after Puerto Rico became part of America, and it continued in some form, basically. It fought in World Wars I and II, but they never fought with as much distinction as they did in Korea. They arrived in Busan in 1950 in September, just in time to double down on the defense of the Busan perimeter. After Incheon, they engaged the Chinese troops in the north. And then they protected the evacuating Marine units before being among those last ones to leave Hangnam on Christmas Eve 1950. Then it was back to Busan, where they'd been 5 months earlier, to push north again with their South Korean counterparts and the UN troops. By the time the war was done, the 65th had earned over 2,700 Purple Hearts. They were among the 61,000 Puerto Ricanos, along with tens of thousands of Mexican Americans, our family members in some cases, who served in the Korean War. But like the Navajo Code Talkers, the Tuskegee Airmen, the 65th was for decades just another segregated unit. They didn't get recognized. Even Congress later agreed that they didn't get full credit for their service. Over 50 years after the unit was disbanded in 1956, the grandson of one of those Boricuaneers heard stories about Korea from his grandfather. And he said, what? He began an effort to have the 65th recognized. And just a little while ago, just about 2 years ago, the unit received the Congressional Gold Medal at the White House. I was touched by that story. I was touched by that story not only because it matters to a family like mine that wouldn't even exist if it weren't for what Americans did in Korea, but because it sums up so much about all of us. You and I know 100 stories like this. The young men who were part of the 65th might have asked themselves my daughter's questions. Why are we here? Why are we here in the depths of winter? But they stood their ground next to Korean and UN soldiers. Today, it's not uncommon to hear talk of how people of different backgrounds need to learn to work together so we can find common ground. Sometimes it feels like that ground is shaking, knocking us off balance, like the earthquake simulator at the Tech Museum that my son loves so much. Sometimes we feel the common ground, though. We feel it. We know it's there. We build a strong foundation for hope or health, action, art. We build it on the ground. We find it in big cities like San Jose, smaller ones like Salinas or McFarland. But our own history, blemished though it is, says we've been finding common ground for a long time. And we've been blessed with uncommon people to till that ground and harvest its fruit, like people in this room right now. But also people whose names you've heard, like Judge Gonzalo Curiel in San Diego, or Hong Yang Chan, the first Chinese immigrant licensed to practice law in California, who came to help Asian Americans in the Bay Area and was denied a law license unjustly in 1890, and to whom we, the California Supreme Court, granted posthumous bar admission just a little while ago. Or like Alexander Hamilton, the poor immigrant from a broken family who came to America with no money, no parents, no connections, who grew up to be the first Secretary of Treasury of our history. Or people among our own families. Think about people in this room, maybe, whose farm worker parents saw their kids grow up to be a lawyer. Or a little girl who flees North Korea at age 9 with her uncle and grows up to live the American dream right here in California. That's what I want to leave you with, that image. Whether it's the Boricuaneers, or Hong Yang Chan, or Alexander Hamilton, or someone in your own family. These are journeys that answer in our own way the question, why are we here? And inspire a common purpose, to leave our kids a state and a planet just a little bit better than we found it, and to introduce, of course, the rest of the world to Pulgo'in Tacos. Thank you for being you, for staying true for what you do, and good night.
So my siblings and I have learned much from my father over the years. He shared many, many stories about his struggles and successes as a community activist and leader. So now I'd like to take this moment just to address my father. Don't be. So I know I've told you this before, and it's important that you hear it again. Your commitment to social justice and equity has left an indelible imprint on the social consciousness of your children, all of us. This is your legacy. It transcends accolades. For your work will live on through us and future generations. So my siblings and I, Dad, we have embodied these values and we have integrated them in all aspects of our lives. And your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, they will do the same. Always fighting for what is right and just and never settling for anything less. So, Dad, I just want to say thank you for who you are and thank you for all that you do. We love you and we're very proud of you.
The Victor Garza Roundtable Lifetime Achievement Merit Award goes to Victor Garza, Chair of the Raza Roundtable.
I don't have anything that is prepared. Usually I don't prepare anything because I speak from the heart. Many people, every day is no different. What makes you so successful? For 45 years and since the 1970s, due to polls taken at Evergreen Valley College and polls taken in the 1980s at San Jose State University, I was recognized and honored and recognized as the #1 Chicano leader. I was during the 70s and 1980s. There had never been another poll taken. I don't know where I am right now. I could be number 10, I could be number 1, or I could be number 2. I have no idea. Dr. Sanchez said earlier today, a good friend of mine that I gotten to love very much, and it hasn't been 10 years I've been on his board, it's been 13 years. And I was the chair of that organization for 5 straight years. I'm only supposed to be there for 3 years. But I've been known to violate a lot of things in my life. Yeah, I violated the policies of Southwest Cape. I have been blessed by so many friends that have been truly, truly friends that I have surrounded myself with, that they are the ones who make me shine. It is not me. One person alone cannot do what we have known to be doing and what we have done throughout the years. It is they, the members of the Raza Roundtable and friends and supporters. They are the ones who do the work. There have been a couple of times, and I get the credit, when there have been those that have wanted to take me out. There have been. I didn't get nowhere. Not because of me, because I asked my friend, are you ready for me to move on? Let me know, and I'll move on. He said, no, and they are the ones who fought for me. These people are loyal, hard-working people, and we don't get paid 1 penny. Throughout the years, and I've been doing this for 45 years in San Jose alone, 2 years in Fresno, 7 years in LA, and a bunch of years in Texas. And how old does that make me? 79. Woo! 79 years old. Upbringing in one of the most racist states in the country, Texas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I developed what I call an anger inside my system to try and create changes wherever I am. And changes have occurred. They have occurred. Unfortunately, sometimes they occur extremely too slow, and then we lose, go back, then we gotta start all over again. But when you have friends like Dr. Smith right here, Dr. out in a crowd like this, and say, we have institutional racism in the county of Santa Clara. How many people have ever admitted that there is that kind of a problem? Even though we all know it exists, Dr. Smith said that. And therefore, I began to respect him a lot. I still argue with him, we still discuss issues, but I respect him immensely because it takes a lot of guts to say what he said in front of his bosses. There were 2 board of supervisors there present at that time when you said that. county is not the only one that has institutional racism.
Yeah.
I just met with Facebook. And we met with other corporations, and at Santa Clara University, I met with 9 corporate people, CEOs. And I asked them to let the people break the glass ceiling. I said, let women break the glass ceiling. Woo! Because I know that if women break the glass ceiling, then Latinos will break that glass ceiling. I had Bob Helmy and Rose, the Asian Law Alliance, the Black Kitchen Cabinet, NAACP, Native American Indians, and La Raza Roundtable, and we got together. He said, can we work together? Everybody said, yeah. Can we differ from each other and yet respect each other? They said, yes. Then let's work together. We shook hands, and we began to work together since then. Because we're sick and tired of my daughter Leticia. My daughter Leticia, her birthday is on September the 13th. Well, every year, for many years, I was in Washington, D.C. during that period of time. She said, you're never home for my birthday, Dad. Well, I was in Washington, D.C. because that's the Latino month that we have. And we were there lobbying to create changes so that our kids and our grandkids do not have to go through the tough road that we're going through. So it was a sacrifice, not for me. Everything I do is because I love. It's a sacrifice for my family. It's a sacrifice for my kids. It's a sacrifice for my friends who sometimes call me, when are we going to get together? I said, well, I got a meeting here and I got a meeting there. We can meet for 30 minutes someplace in here. It's not a sacrifice with me because I love every moment. When I was approached and told me that I was going to get the Lifetime Achievement Award, he said, so these people expected me to hang on my gloves and that's it? I got a lot of years ahead of me, and all of you are going to be hearing from me. I'm not stopping. This is not a Lifetime Achievement Award. This is only up to 2016. We still got to go at least another 10, 15 years. And with your help, we're going to create a lot of changes in our community that will be good for the women, for the kids, and everyone in this room. Yes, we need to work together and create those changes. I'm asking the county exec, I'm asking the county board of supervisors, I'm asking the city manager, a dear friend of mine, and the mayor, I think he was here earlier, asking all of you to please support us. We will work with you. We want you to work with us so we can create those changes for the good of this community. And we're going to be working with corporate America. We need to create change. Every one of you for being here, for all your support throughout the years. I've known some of you for a long time, since the early 70s. I want to thank my committee that did all the work and make me look. Please continue to support us. The Raza Roundtable can only be as successful as the love and support that you give La Raza Roundtable. If you guys were not here, there'd probably be 5 of us sitting down here looking at each other. Okay? So thank you. Thank you. Go to La Raza Roundtable and learn what we do. Everyone in there that works there is working for free. And not only for 1 month or 2 months or a year. Many will be there for many years. And it wasn't 25 years, it's 28 years that La Raza Roundtable been in existence. And I've been the chair, honored to be the chair.
From the California shore, clear down to New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, clear down to the Alamo, lives a mighty sleeping giant, millions of Chicanos strong, and the day that he awakens, we will be where we belong, in the mainstream of society. Oh, the changes we can bring, Chicanos of the I sing. Wake up, Chicanos, wake up, let's get involved. Wake up, you sleeping giant, let's get our problem solved. No more mañana syndrome, don't sit around and hope. The only way to change things is to register and vote. We implore our young Chicanos, quit embarrassing us all. No more warfare in the barrios or graffiti on the wall. Get yourself a brand new image. Being macho might be cool, but the dude that's gonna make it is the one that stays in school. We are Mexican Americans or Chicanos, take your choice. Chicanos, let's raise our vote. Wake up, Chicanos, wake up, let's get involved. Wake up, you sleeping giant, let's get our problem solved. No more mañana syndrome, don't sit around and mope. We gotta get the lead out and register and vote. From the California shore, clear down to New Mexico, Arizona y Colorado, clear down to the Alamo. Live descendants of Cuauhtemoc from the great Tenochtitlan. We were here before Columbus, when this land was called Aztlan. We are Mexican Americans. We're mestizos and we're proud. Chicanos, let's sing out loud. Wake up, Chicanos, wake up, let's get involved. Wake up, you sleeping giant, we'll get our problem solved. No more mañana syndrome, don't sit around and hope. The only way to change things is to register and vote. I said the only way to change things is to register and vote. Simon, the only way to change things is to register and vote.
Volando con la brisa.